Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse today, Friday, August 21st, 2026. Now, we're going to be soon covering this NFL racism case about Brian Flores, the coach. They're getting into how Jim Harbaugh was fired. But let me go even bigger. I'm going to go global at the end of this, okay? We're going to turn to the UN. But first, some of the stories from yesterday. One actually connects the two. Sue Mi Terry. Not Sue. Don't sue her. That's her name. Sue Mi Terry. She was a think tank employee, I believe, and she was charged with violations of the Foreign Agent Registration Act. She moved to suppress. She moved to dismiss. That was denied. She moved to suppress. That was denied. The trial is in October, and we are absolutely going to be covering it. She's the wife of Max Boot. We rarely put that in the story, but to some, that's the hook. To me, the hook is FARA. Very interesting law. So we shall be covering it. And that story, the decision, is on Patreon and Inner City Press. Now, we also yesterday covered the end of the trial of U.S. versus Robinson. Others may not care about it. It's a meth sales trial. But they sealed the courtroom. DOJ sealed the courtroom. We had to go to another courtroom and hear audio. They promised that the audio files would be transcribed. They said that they were, and they weren't yet. The other exhibits weren't downloadable. All of it got solved in the end. And I must report, yesterday, Mr. Robinson was convicted. Very short trial. 3-day trial. Morning deliberation? I don't know. You can find that on Substack. We have some analysis. And there's another sealed case coming up that we're going to be active on. They haven't, of course, yet requested to seal it because they like to do it at the 11th hour, it seems. But now we're going to try to get one step ahead. One step ahead. Now, we'll do a financial one here because the UN report is going to be extensive today. Well, at least until we reach the courthouse. On the financial front, the FDIC and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency are trying to severely limit the Community Reinvestment Act. They are going to basically eliminate detailed examinations for all banks, among other things, between 1.6 billion and 10 billion, maybe 30 billion. So we've launched a new series, and we've begun with our good friends here in New York, Emigrant. Used to be called Emigrant Savings Bank. They had a big building on Chambers Street, although it's now some kind of an expensive museum. But they're in the blackout zone, and we've gone and found their most recent CRA performance evaluation. And it has some damning material that is exactly the kind of stuff that will no longer be looked at. We also looked at their mortgage lending data. So find that story on Inner City Press. As we're trying to put it out as widely as we can, and we're going to do a profile of a number of other banks in a number of other states in the countdown of the 60-day comment period. Now let's turn to the UN. Today at 10 o'clock, or maybe 10:15, they will be announcing the secret. They won't be announcing, excuse me, this freaking Danish ambassador who refuses to answer her email and allow Inner City Press, which covers this. Our story yesterday our video was put in a Le 360. What could be finer? I'm going to get to why that's fine. In any case, she'll come out and say, we've had a vote. She won't say what the results are. Now, in the past, when I was in the UN, I was first, I will say it, in getting the results, because I'm a reporter. I talk to people. Not being in, it's more difficult, but we're going to do what we can. People call us up and email, but it's slower than oral. So, who are the candidates? There's now 8 candidates. Bachelet has not dropped out, although she hasn't really been heard from. The new candidate, Yvonne A. Baki, yesterday spoke to the GA openly, spoke behind closed doors to the Security Council, and then did a stakeout, which we live streamed on YouTube. X's video no longer works for some reason. The X's live video doesn't exist. We put it on YouTube Live, and lo and behold, at the end of her absolutely lame, the questions were ludicrous. We had real questions, sorry to say. At the end of it, she was glad-handing on the side, not only with the ambassador of Tonga, but with a man who was one of only 5 board members of Ghislaine Maxwell's Terramar Foundation. Sex trafficking still in the UN. He was one of 5. No one's answered for it and no one that was there even noticed or at least asked about it. We did. We put it up. We said, what is this new candidate doing? Is he part of the team? What's happening? It's the land that time forgot. If Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't in jail, she'd be at the stakeout, I believe. That's how the UN is. They love sex trafficking. So it appears. And they certainly bland any voice that asks about it. So we asked about it, and that is the video that went up on the 360. Yes, it's true. So the question has gone global. Now we're no longer asking, was it him? We're asking, what now? What next? Now, it's said that Baki is the candidate of the administration. I don't know. I don't know anything. And I'm very open to her saying he was just photobombing me or whatever. Where is Mike Wallace? We've asked it before, and I don't know. Finally, to come full circle, UN and SDNY were joined together. Last night, we wrote a story of U.S. versus UN Federal Credit Union. Yes, the UN Federal Credit Union, in the peak of impunity, has refused to answer a subpoena from the U.S. government. What are they doing in New York? If you can't answer the subpoena, get out of town. Okay, we're going in. If this is the last one of the week, have a good weekend.